All right. All right, let's start. Shruti,
Hey,
you are up.
yep, yep. Thank you so
Okay.
much. So, yes, so we are here for our panel, Ask the CISO, and brackets, parentheses, anything. But we have our panel here. We have Sharon, and I can see Sharon, I can see Ulf, I can see Christopher. I'm not sure if I see Elon. I'm not sure, Ken, if he has joined.
He was here
He was?
at one time.
Okay. I don't see it, but I would request all the panelists to please come on camera. Oh, you are on camera. Great. Yeah, I don't see Elon.
All right, so
Yep. I'm
okay.
just gonna move forward. All right, so we have our panelists here. So panelists, can we just have a round of introduction? Maybe, oh, because I see you, your screen is in front of me. Can we start with you? You're on mute, Ulf.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
I can see you.
Great. Thank you, Ken. And my experience in info security and data privacy is mainly focused on PCI DSS, where I worked with the council, PCI Council, and also with Visa data security standards before that. So I've been working with PCI DSS for more than 10 years. And I gave many presentations at ISC Squared, ISACA, and ISSA in mainly Europe and United States. So my experience on data security and data privacy covers internal CISO, or Chief Security Strategist, at IBM, and Integrity Data Security, and TokenX Cloud Security. So that was my internal experience on that. My external CISO, or Chief Security Strategist, including PNC Bank, MasterCard, Visa, Goldman Sachs, a couple of other companies like Microsoft and Oracle and Time Warner. And I spent a couple of years in internal chief technology officer at Protected Data Security. So that's me.
Thank you, Ulf, and welcome to our panel.
Thank you.
Sharon, I guess we can hear next from you.
Hello, everyone. As a lot of you know, Sharon Kelley, I'm the membership chair here at ISC to New Jersey chapter. I am also the Chief Information Security Officer at New Jersey Institute of Technology in New Jersey. I have been doing the security thing for quite a while. I've been in IT since the late 90s. I went to school for data communications and networking, and I was a network engineer for a very long time in higher ed. Moved around a bit, worked in finance, worked at a prosecutor's office. I worked at a software engineering firm. And my last job prior to this one was at Hudson News, which I think everybody knows Hudson News. And when I worked there, I used to thank everyone for buying the overpriced water because it did pay for my bonus. So thank you. And I took this job at NJIT a year and almost a half ago. And so I'm back in higher ed. I had left for about a decade and I came back. I had forgotten how much work it was, but happy to be on the panel, and I'm happy that everybody's here to, ask questions.
Yeah, we are happy to have you. Christopher, you're
Hello,
next.
everyone. Chris Callahan. I'm the CISO for Weicker Companies. That's a group of real estate related companies. Although I deal very little with the real estate side, it's really with the mortgage, the insurance company, the relocation companies, probably the biggest because of our Fortune 100 companies. I've been the CISO for 5 years there as their first post-breach CISO, so I have to deal with an attorney general. But my career started at least in the late 80s as a systems programmer for a bank, and it was really the technical skills that got me on that path, both from starting with security on the mainframe and then integrating with Unix, Linux later on, and then client server, and now cloud. And I think what really kind of boosted me forward was really, due diligence of everything. It's making it secure by design. It wasn't someone telling me what to do. It was making it secure, even against sometimes management, where it's, that wasn't their first, thoughts of doing technical work. And then keeping integrity to that, because it's not always smooth where, you're implementing security solutions, but you're focused on the business. So if you're always focused on the business, you can't go wrong. And so even when you might have differences with management, it comes back down to the business, and everything's okay. So you just keep on moving forward. But looking at like NIST and ISO frameworks, it's kind of like your roadmap to what you have to do. And I think if you just you stick with what you're doing, stick with your integrity, you'll be successful in anything you do.
Thank you, Chris. I still see probably I'll drop out, but I'll just go ahead with, I think we all hear that you come from varied background in the sense that you have worked with in a lot of different, industries and sectors. One of the questions that pops up in mind is what made you follow this career path? And in short, I think we are trying to understand, did you choose security or security chose you? And are you happy in the position you are in right now? So probably, I don't know, maybe Chris, because you were the last one.
Sure. So I got into security by choice. So there was opportunity. When I was technical and in infrastructure, I was scanning my servers when no one told me to do it. So I was using Nessus in the old days and hardening my systems. And when you have your other colleagues responsible for other servers and they're not doing the same thing, if some of you that are older, you remember, Code Red, you remember SQL Slammer, and it really came down to patching. If you patched, you were fine. And, other implementations, was to implement, even when multifunction copiers came out, there was a little computer on the side. And, the business would just go, let's just roll it out. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't have, you have to close up the ports. You have to have it all locked down. You have to harden it. Little things like that became standard eventually. But it was by doing that when I had an opportunity to go into security, I was able to, and I had the reputation, and, it took it from there. And really, when I had all the services that I was responsible for, I did it in a, document everything, create processes that create an audit. Always think about internal audit. So I was in pharma and banking, so internal audit was always there. You're always side by side with internal audit. And if your processes are audit ready, it makes your job easier because, having it available to the auditors, having really solid evidence, date, timestamp, everything there is just, you do it. And I think really that's why I like what I do. Sometimes I might butt heads with management, but the job is great. So it makes it that much better. There's pressure times, incidents aren't fun, right, Sharon? And really, every incident you have to deal with, if you've planned accordingly, if you've done your tabletops, you follow the script. Basically you go down and you're doing all those things you need to do. It's not always going to be the same script, but through practice and tabletops, you know what to do, and everyone else knows what to do because you've gone through that process. For us, I have everyone that's involved in incident response to acknowledge the plan every year because there's little changes that take place, but it's from work on your communications and don't assume anything. If everything's out there, our job is I think it's easy. I'm always asked what keeps you awake at night, and I sleep like a baby. It's because you do your job and you check those boxes and you plan for your business continuity, your incident response. You sleep.
And you seem to have enjoyed this journey. Well, you
Yeah,
sound.
I do. And I'm a tech geek, so my family for a while had lock picks at the kitchen table that we go just practice picking locks and things like that, and just that whole mentality of security and risk. It's been there.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Chris, for sharing that with us. So probably Earth, maybe you can go next and share your thoughts.
Okay. How much do I have? 3 minutes or what?
Yeah, we have time. We have time.
Okay, good. My background is development, software development, and then I moved on to data and data security. I worked at IBM for 20 years, and IBM didn't like what I wanted to go. I wanted to go into privacy, security, and compliance. So I left IBM and I started a security company, Protegrity. And Protegrity, we have 400 people in that company now. And I wanted to move on to cloud and SMB, mid-sized companies, and the new management at Protegrity didn't agree with me, so I left. Again, second time I left Protegrity actually, and I'm doing consulting now, and I think it's wonderful to work with PNC Bank, MasterCard, Visa, Goldman Sachs, Microsoft, Oracle, and Time Warner. I love that life. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thanks. Sharon, I guess we can have your thoughts.
Yeah. So my move to this this life was definitely it was a mixture of choice and just happenstance. So when I came out of school, I started working up the hill from me here in Hoboken at Stevens Institute of Technology, and my boss, who was the director of networking and telecommunications, was very big on security. And this is back in when I started working there in 2001. And he just, from the moment I started in networking, he was always very adamant that security was, was kind of our job, right? So a lot of times in higher ed, you don't have separate security teams. You've generally got, if you're especially a small school, you have a network team that does security. You have an applications team that does application security. You have a core team or whatever that does hardening of servers. And so I remember getting our first, Cisco PICs and having to set that up, and then moving on to the ASAs and setting those up, and then getting into a little bit of identity management with some Cisco tools like ACSs. We dealt prior to that with a lot of authentication via Radius and using LDAP and integrating that however we could, and then you just keep getting deeper and deeper into securing things. So I had decided at one point that I was tired of fixing everything. everything was always a network problem. And anybody who's ever worked in the network team knows that everything is the network, even if it's not the network. So I was tired of fixing everything, especially printers. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to become a security person. And, I'm still fixing things that have nothing to do with security. Tran can back me up on that. We're definitely doing that. But when I decided to make that leap, I took a boot camp. I studied for my CISP. And then I just started taking jobs that were more security focused, and then moving up, like trying to move up, because I also didn't want to be the security person who, dealt in firewalls, because that was also everything that breaks is a firewall problem. So I definitely wanted to move up into a management role, and I wanted to work on strategy and policy and things of that sort. But as today shows, I'm still doing things like checking out incidents that aren't incidents. Actually, it wasn't an incident. It was a false positive, but I'm still in the Slack channel with the managed detection response service, explaining to them that yes, we did just create 4,000 and change accounts because we're admitting people today, apparently, at school. So I'm still doing some of those things, but so it was very intentional on my part. Although I will say that it's probably not what I thought it would be. At least not where I am.
Got it. So you all are security leaders, and why don't we talk about some of the skills that we would need to just, come into security or become a leader in security? And I know like technical skills are always required, but it would be great if you can also share some of the non-technical skills, such as, do you need to have project management skills? Do we need to have like leadership skills? Like, just throw some light on what kind of skills we would require to reach where you all are today.
The answer is yes. So, I mean, you do need to have project management skills, especially if you're managing teams and implementations, dealing with the business. You do have to be a business person. So, our jobs really is business first. We're not yes, no people. What's the risk? What do you need to accomplish? Never mess with revenue. So if anything that you're doing is going to mess with revenue, you kind of dance around that, but always keep revenue moving forward. But it's, you also have to deal with your teams, the people, the different personalities. It's good to know about how to treat people differently based on their different personality traits. So, you don't just treat everyone the same, because if you need to accomplish any tasks, you're going to be treating them differently based on their strengths and weaknesses. And so that's another good part. Yeah, technical, yeah, you always need to have that as well, because you need to make your decisions on your roadmaps, your strategies. What I've done in the past, in past companies, I've never said, well, in this company I did this, or that company I did that, because it doesn't matter. It's really about the company you work for, what technology stack they have, and how you can take that stack, moving forward, how it aligns with the business. And because, it's not what you're comfortable with in your past job, is how you move forward with what they have. And let me see, and you have to know how to deal with money and budgets and getting the most out of those budgets, because they're not throwing money at you. You have to really be, you really have to think about how you take the budget they give you and make the most out of it. And I think that's, in general, that's usually the challenge that I have is how do I accomplish my goals with the limited budget I do have.
I like what Christopher is saying here, and his background as CISO, banking, mainframe. Congrats. I like what you said, Christopher, earlier. Security by design is very important. It's a long road, but I also think that when you are saying we need to have some R&D background, maybe.
Helps.
Yeah, learning security, and then focus on business. I think that is very important to learn a business language, so you actually can talk to executives and get your, I would say, budget. Otherwise, you can do nothing.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, I will say that I after my bachelor's degree was technical. It was a bachelor of science, and I learned a lot of very important and interesting things, and it helped me get the job that I had, and it helped me succeed in that job. I will say that I could definitely not be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't continued my education. I don't think that, like, I certainly didn't have any business acumen, as a network engineer, and taking and I, because I worked at a college, I was able to get a master's degree, an MBA, for free, which is nice, right? Not a lot of people get to do that, but if you're not really aligned with the business, how are you're not going to be successful in this position. And I know that had I not done that personally, I wouldn't be successful at this. I certainly wouldn't be where I am, because I wouldn't have understood things that I wasn't getting that type of engagement, right, in higher ed, working in the network team in the basement of the library where they keep all IT people. You always keep them in the basement. You just don't. So you have to go out and talk to these people and see and listen and learn. And I saw that in the chat, actually. You have to listen to what people need, and you also have to have a bit of patience. I have very little patience, but I do have patience when it comes to leadership, in the different business units. I can definitely have patience with them because it's necessary, and understanding how to speak with them and speak their language. It's extremely important.
Yeah, those are really pressing points. You need to have understanding of the business, have business acumen to talk to the executive. And I like Chris's point, never mess with the revenue, because most of the times, in fact, 99% of the time in organizations, cyber is just a cost center. Everything that's budgeted for cyber is coming out of those things. So yeah, they are really good points. So someone from our committee, Sonam, is asking for advice for someone who is just starting on their cybersecurity journeys. Like, what advice you might give to people? We have a lot of students in our committee who are listening to you, who are just starting on their cybersecurity journey. Just some things that they can do to be successful at the start of their careers.
I think that, especially if they're part of ISCT New Jersey, definitely join mentoring. And when we do the next Cyber Pathways event, join that and talk to all the different people. Because, and if I don't think Samantha's here tonight, but if she was here, and Samantha Snellen, who's my co-chair for membership, she was a career transitioner, and she realized, I guess initially she started doing some things that were more technical, and then she realized there's no way she'd ever want to be an analyst, a SOC analyst or something like that. She's GRC, she likes it. There are some people that look at GRC and decide they absolutely want no part of it. So if you get to talk to people and see a day in the life, you'll be able to go, oh, I never want to go anywhere near that, or oh wow, that really interests me. And the best way to do that is definitely talking to people in the field, and all different people, because what one person loves, another person can despise. It just, everyone has their interests.
You really have to like what you're going to be doing, and like Sharon said, I mean, GRC and a SOC analyst, totally in different spaces there too. And a lot of people say, GRC is boring, but like I said before too, you create audit ready processes. A lot of those things can be exciting, at least fulfilling. But if you're somewhat technical, then you should kind of look into the technical space and understanding technical services and how they work, like in networking. You know, you do have to know all your basics. You should know OS architecture, a lot of those little things, but it's what the hackers kind of look at, and they're the ones that we're looking to protect our organizations from. So, you know, if you're that kind of person that's into the protection part of it, well, then, you know, look in all the technologies that and scripting, know your scripting, and yeah, I mean, you should like or love what you do, because life is short, and you should like to do your job. You know, you should like it.
You know, Christopher, I like what you are saying about passion. If you follow your passion, it can go a long way.
Yep. And you learn faster that way too, because you like what you're doing, and you remember things, and you do all of that.
Yeah, who remembers things they're not interested in? No one.
Yeah. One of the things I could say for all the technical people too is have your home lab. You know, scan your own home network to know what your vulnerabilities are there. Volunteer for nonprofits and help them secure their organization. You know, you don't have to be paid to do what you're doing. You know, learn, and not only that too. It's even if you go to school, you know, you learn what you've done in school. You go to your job, you do your job, but you really have to take that beyond both of those. You have to, like, I had my own home lab for years in the old days when I had this, you know, the stack of old equipment that I built, but it was always, you know, building up and rebuilding and doing all of that, and that you really learn. But if that's how I protected, like I said, the initial environment that I was responsible for in scanning, you know, who was scanning in the late 90s, and but it made my job easier. I was young, and it was basically a selfish approach, meaning if I'm out in the clubs with the friends, I don't want to be my beeper go off and I'd have to have some incident, you know. So it was a win-win.
So,
well, you can solve that by not making any changes and telling nobody that no changes after noon on Friday.
Yeah, which is when they all take place, basically.
So, Christopher, how do you build a home lab?
Well, at least now it's easier because you could do it virtually. And you know, you use the virtual tools out there. Build a laptop that's Kali Linux and use those tools to learn. You know, and that way you also get used to Linux and the different command lines from one platform to another. You know, the little syntax differences. It's some cool stuff, especially when you build your lab and you're attacking and trying to penetrate different machines.
So tell me, a lot of people are using Apple or Windows. So what should they do?
No, it's no different with either a Mac system or a Windows system. I mean, in the security professionals, we've mostly have used Macs in the day, but where the equipment's gone today, I'm starting to see a balance shift, even the use of Windows machines for the technical people in security. But you know, build different types of computers. Build domain controllers. Get used to what the technology is. Now with cloud services, you can spin up your own little environment to learn those cloud environments. You know, watch a lot of YouTube videos. But understand when you're watching a lot of YouTube videos, there's also bad videos out there. So you have to learn what's good, what's bad, and in time that will come.
So Christopher, what do you think about securing your phone?
Yeah, if anyone knows me, I talk about that all the time because they were like, just use your phone. I don't use my phone for
I use my
a
work
lot of
phone.
things. Yeah, well, that I used to use my work phone too, but now they don't give me a work phone. But you You know, I never use banking. You got to remember too, your phone, you know, is when they use it as, you know, you install an app and they want access to everything on your phone. There's no need to have access. And if you say no, it doesn't install. So I'm beyond, you know, even if it's no, like they don't want access to everything through the application changing, you'd be surprised how they get into various components of your phone. I try, you know, I kind of just try to avoid the use of my phone for a lot of important things, except, you know, it's my MFA, but it's phones is really the attack surface is huge on that right now, especially if you look at, you know, the phishing, everything else that comes on. I never click on any link unless someone's telling me they're sending a link over. Just go to the system itself, you know, and if there's any notifications, it will be there as well too. Too many people click on text links and they get compromised.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
so Christopher, I just want to ask you kind of a personal question. I'm using McAfee, and they ask me to, you know, upgrade and pay more. So, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was a McAfee fan in the '90s, but yeah, I don't use. I'm not a McAfee fan now. I look at really some of the next generation tools, like you know, I think I use. Let me see, what do I use on my phone too? I think I use yeah, I use Bitdefender because it links my whole family together anyway, and you know, I secure all my devices that way. But you know, I also harden all my devices. So, but yeah, you definitely need to have the protection. Windows has come a long way with Defender, and I know, you know, a lot of the third-party products that are out there, they're great. But you know, again, too, I'm dealing with a limited budget, and I have an E5, so take advantage of what you have, and it works. I mean, it didn't always work, and it's still not perfect, but it's pretty damn good.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great discussion on security tools.
Yeah,
So,
there's some questions in the chat. There's one is thoughts on always connected VPNs on phones. Oh, like Chris
Yeah.
answer that one.
No, and you know, when I do have to use my phone, I do have my VPN on there as well too. I use VPN on literally everything. You know, for one thing, I don't want my cable company, not that I'm not doing anything malicious or bad. It's just for privacy. You know, ISPs should not know what I'm doing, and in profiling me based on what DNS entries I'm hitting. So yes, I use VPN on everything, including what I use on my TV. So which is nothing but streaming. You know, I got rid of the cable box, and but it's VPN, and yeah, protect those endpoints.
thank you, Chris. So Sharon, Chris, in your careers, you must have interviewed a lot of candidates. So what is that one go-to question that, from a security perspective, you ask all your, you know, cybersecurity candidates that you interview?
My favorite is, what is your approach for staying current with emerging technology?
That is great. Yeah. What about you, Sharon?
Mainly I you know, I usually, by the time they get to me, I'm not asking certainly the technical questions.
Yeah.
But I do like to ask people, you know, generally a security incident or something happens, you know, something, how did you handle it, right? Have you been in that? Have you had that experience? How'd you handle it? It's very much, I mean, luckily, I think we're out of the age of let's be 100% secure, and we're more in the age of, okay, let's do what we can, but let's try to, you know, how are we going to react when something does happen? So my questions are always around that type of thing. How are you handling when it happens?
Yeah, and that's really good because that is something that day in and out you would be dealing once you work in the cybersecurity organization or function within your organization. So, let's hear your thoughts on those.
You know, if humans are made for walking, that is what we are built for. So I do a lot of walking. So I probably walk 30 minutes or 1 hour every day. So what do I do when I walk? I listen to podcasts.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have maybe 10 favorite podcasts, and they keep me updated.
Yep.
Yeah. So building on that too, I recommend everyone to listen to the CISO series. So
Yeah.
if you're looking at that as a direction, they have some great podcasts. Listen to Darknet Diaries, one of my favorite. And if anyone hasn't listened to that, that's more about getting into really that's why it's a darknet, in the side of what is evil out there and just what people have done. And it's just sometimes they're pretty rough in what they talk about, but it's definitely a great podcast.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I've just written the names on the chat for people to just reference back. So, you have basically spent a lot of time in your career on security. So, what has been one of the most challenging moments for you all while you were serving as cybersecurity leaders or professionals? Like, what was that event, one most challenging event in your career?
I think for me, it's every incident, every real incident. It's you just don't know where each one goes. You know what I mean? And if you do your defense in depth, you'll be in good shape, and you do your tabletops, and you're prepared for that. But it's still, every incident is just, until it's over, until you've finished doing your postmortem. It's just different. I mean, just everything, until you find out, that you've closed the door, or you don't have to report it to, because no data has been breached. It's really that area, and then of course just dealing with budgets, and when you find out, you got to cut something, and it's like, what do you cut that you've already cut the years before, and you have to be creative and to get the things that you need to get done to protect the company.
Yeah, and just following up on that, Chris, since you're talking about budgets, like cybersecurity functions or cybersecurity team often run on very constrained budgets. So, what are some of the things that you would suggest for any organization that is going to be a must-have from their cyber team?
That's a great question, and that actually, when I started at Weichert, that was the first thing I did, and they had some. They were using some Nessus and whatever, so a little Qualys, but we did have a Rapid7 license for IDR, and I'm like, we have to get their vulnerability management. So vulnerability management has always been, like I said, from the start of my career with scanning and hardening, it hasn't changed, and the reason for that is to know what I don't know, and it's not about remediation. I mean, of course it is, but it's about knowing what's on your network, what's the state of it, especially when you deal with mergers and acquisitions. When you do a passive scan against an acquiring company, you get to see, just by scan data, what's the posture and the maturity of that company. And when I see consistent vulnerabilities, that tells me that they're consistent in their patching and everything else. if I see every machine that's all over the place, it's like, oh no, it's the Wild West, and I have my challenges ahead of me. And it's about discipline, about hardening. Get familiar. Is another hint for everyone else too. Is get familiar with CIS, CIS hardening. Great guides there, but you know the CIS benchmarks. I've used. Well, I've lived that for it's got to be 10, 15 years, whenever that started. And it's very difficult. It's not easy, especially understanding how the business operates, because they come first. You can't harden things that breaks things. So it's really getting to know how that various system. I always say how it breathes, because if you know how it breathes, it's easier to deal with it.
All right, just some timekeeping. We have 4 minutes left. Ulf, why don't we hear about your thoughts, and we'll let Sharon close it.
We didn't talk much about AI.
Sure.
And regulations, but I would like, if you allow me,
Yeah.
I have a book or 2 books talking about these topics, particularly compliance, AI. So my first 2 books are kind of covering the basics, and I'm now writing my 3rd book on this topic. That's my commercial.
Good commercial.
Yeah. I think we can have a complete dedicated discussion on AI and cybersecurity and data privacy issues.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, a whole one.
Yeah, I could talk for hours on that one too.
Yes.
Just make sure you do an assessment on all your LLMs.
Do that. So Sharon, why don't we just hear your thoughts, and we'll close this panel. Anything you'd like to share on your, most challenging event in your career?
Yeah, I don't think there's any one particular event that I found the most challenging. They're all awful in their own way, their own special way. The one, we last January to February, we had quite a litany of incidents, one right after the other. I think that is the biggest struggle, is once somebody gets in even a little bit, it's as if they put up something in Times Square, and you're just getting hit from every angle. So that could be very frustrating, because you're just it's whack-a-mole, and I despise whack-a-mole, but that's where you're at in the middle of an incident. And it's really that the moments when you're not sure, right? Up until for a fact that it's not a B word, and I refuse to say the B word, and no one's allowed to say the B word around me. We had, during the incident last year, one of the guys on the call, said the B word, and I lost my mind. Like, don't say that. It's not a B word that we know of. That can be difficult. But yeah, beignets, Aaron, beignets. Don't say the B word. But I think mostly my greatest frustrations actually just are around users. And I think that at a lot of places, I found this, especially in my last job, the users will lie because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And getting through to them that you need to tell me the truth, and it's yes, you did wrong, but it's going to be okay, and let's not do it again. Like I was the emotional support blanket for a lot of people in my last position, because they're terrified they're going to get fired. Like, they don't want to tell anybody anything because they're afraid they're going to get fired. And I'm like, you can't have a culture of we're going to fire you for a mistake. And I know there are some very regulated industries that it's one strike and you're out, but for the rest of the world, it's humans are humans. And they're more apt to be careful and to tell you the truth, and you can get to the bottom of it faster if you have a little bit more of a supportive environment and not a, we're gonna paint a big, A on your chest and walk you out in front of everybody. So there is definitely a time for shaming of the users, but that's not all the time. So that's my biggest struggle.
So guys, I think someone suggested that we should have a podcast.
We have a podcast.
We have a
We have a-
podcast.
We have a podcast.
With our team here.
Would you like me to set up a podcast with the four of you? We can certainly do that.
I sent that note to Ulf and I was like, you've got those books, make a podcast so we can all benefit from them.
There you go.
So we do have podcasts now. So Aaron is yes, Aaron's
Taking
typing
notes
right
here,
now.
CISO panel guys.
Oh yes. We will get that started for the new year. So yes, we will add that to the agenda. So
yeah, so please invite the team here.
Yep, we'll make it happen.
Thank you.
Okay, great idea.
All right.
All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. I am so glad that we did this. And Ulf, I have you to thank for asking to be on this, and then we converted it to a panel, and then we converted it to an Ask Me Anything. And then I bowed out and had Shruti be the moderator. So it was it was
See, it's
very,
just like security. Nothing, everything changes constantly.
it was very
gotta be
this was a
agile.
very fluid thing, how this all worked out, but I'm glad it did. And happy holidays, everybody. And I hope everybody had a great year with our chapter. And we really are going to have a great year next year. I just, I can't even think about what we're going to be doing, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's for sure.
Great job, all.
So,
Likewise,
yes,
Ken.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Happy holidays.
Everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Ken, did CPEs, are they out there, the link?
Yeah, I posted the link. I'll post it again. Hold on. Yeah, you were too busy talking. Hold on.
Thanks. Happy holidays. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Happy
Ken,
holidays.
for everything. Thank you, Ken, for everything, and happy
No,
holidays.
my pleasure. We'll be talking soon. Don't
Yep.
you worry, Ulf.
Have a good one, Ken.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.